Welcome back to the channel, welcome back to the vlog. You're watching HQ BMW. Today, part 3 of the Airlift install. I've had a few of the subscribers reach out and looking for part 3, and I was going to do the height sensors next, but one of a fellow M-car enthusiast from Germany is looking at doing the install himself and wants to see the wiring for the trunk next because he's not running height sensors. So I figured I'd oblige. I'll put the height sensors on hold right now and we'll get to doing the wiring in the trunk. Without further ado, let's get to wiring up the air suspension. You've opened your kit. You want to find your instructions. This schematic is very, very helpful. You will want to keep this one handy for reference. You got your kit open. What do you do with all this? Trust me, it's not as bad as it looks. This end obviously is for your manifold. It's perfect sense. You got these 4 capped wires. These are for your height sensors. So you need your wires for your height sensors terminating close to this point. Then you have these two, this red and black wire, along with this little strange plug-in just kind of in the middle of the wiring harness. This is what feeds to your second compressor, so that this will turn your second compressor on. This is the positive and negative for your first compressor. And then down the line you have a fairly large relay. You don't have to do nothing with this except for you can mount it somewhere securely and just leave it be. You have your thick black cable with the USB. This is actually for your controller. This is going to go to the front of the car. Here's the pink wire. This is for your remote switch. So when the ignition turns on, this is what sends the signal to the airlift system that it can be turned on. And then you have this massive long cable of your power. This is what goes to the battery. Obviously this is long enough so you can have your wiring harness from the manifold in the rear, and this would go all the way to the front of the battery in a standard vehicle like my Hyundai Elantra. Thankfully BMW puts the batteries in the trunk, so we're actually going to probably cut a lot of this wire off, which will just make it even more efficient and won't have to run the wires all the way to the front of the car. So I'm going to get to sort of placing this in the place where I think I'm going to put everything, and then from there you can start securing it down and bringing in your compressor and manifold and tank. So where are you going to put that? This is going to be your personal preference. You can copy me for what I'm going to do, but the trunk setup is kind of customizable on how you would like it. Okay, I'll do my best to show you what I've done here. So underneath this is the deck of the trunk. You'll see above here there's 2 speakers, but there's a cavity up in here, and what I did was I fished a line through this hole, and then it comes out right here. So it comes out by the seat belt, and then I've routed it around and down through. So I've ran these 2 wires, the power wires and the remote switch. I've ran those down there and to the battery. This wire is for the USB for the actual controller. I will route this down to the front of the car, but we'll do that separately later. So when the seats cushions back on, you can't see any of the wiring. Nice and clean. So we got our wiring harness coming out by the battery. This is way too long, so we need to cut this down. And we have our pink remote wire, which we will deal with in just a few minutes. I went ahead and cut the fusible link. You're going to want to make sure that you're running a fuse. Don't forget this step. This will prevent everything from melting down just in case. Cut it in half. I crimped on the eyelet on the one side, and then I put a butt connector on the other side, got some heat shrink tubing, and ready to connect the wiring harness to this link. So let's cut this down and then we will get these two put together. Heat shrunk and connected. There's our first set of power cables. We're not going to hook them up yet until I'm ready to hook everything up and get it plugged in and ready to go. We got to get the second wiring harness for the second compressor now routed and installed. We have to do the same thing with the ends of them, getting them connected to the battery, and then this portion goes to the actual compressor itself. So let's get to routing this wire. I'm probably going to do it the exact same way that I did the main wiring harness, because we need this plug to go into that plug that's kind of in the middle of the wiring harness, and doesn't look like it's there for any reason, but it is for this wiring harness. So let's get under. I'm going to climb into the trunk and get this wired up, and then we should be good to go. So we got the end of the manifold harness just tucked up there for now. There's the two compressor leads that were coming off of the harnesses. I used the cutoffs from the main wiring harness that we cut off for the batteries to wire to the compressor cables. Ran up behind this panel just like the air lines and height sensor lines. And then I'm actually putting the compressors down in this bucket, so you're not going to be able to see them. That is now all wired up for the compressors. We got the power running to the battery. The two remaining things we have to do is we have to deal with this pink ignition wire so that it turns the actual system on. And then there's the actual cable for the screen that we have to run up to the front still. I'll do that at another time, but we'll just, right now, we'll focus on getting this pink cable wired up to the fuse panel. Okay, we want to make sure we ground our negative terminal for the battery tester. You want to find a terminal that has no power to it when the ignition is off. The tough thing about the BMWs is the accessories stay on for 20 minutes. So you can't open the door, you can't touch your key, you can't touch the doors, can't open or close the trunk, because that just resets the 20 minutes. So you need to find one that has no power after 20 minutes. And then when you find one that has no power for 20 minutes, then what you're going to do is you're going to essentially let the car turn itself back on. So let's go touch the door handle. So now we turn the ignition back on. This slot right here got no power when the car was off, and now you can see it's getting 12, 13 volts. So that is a good one to use for the air suspension. That would be fuse number 125. We ran into the same problem as we did with Quinn. Now we've run into the same problem as we did with Quinn. This fuse holder isn't long enough for the BMW fuses. So I'm gonna have to stop here and order one of the same fuse adapters that we used on Quinn. Links down in this description below. But once we get a new one of these, then we'll be completely done the wiring. Got the wiring harness all tidied up. Got the height sensors connected and all put up into that pocket. What a great location. So now when you're looking in the trunk, it's pretty much looking stock still. So we got the compressor wires here that we gotta get the compressors installed. We gotta get the manifold mounted, got to get the air tank mounted, and we're almost finished, boys. There we go. If you're following along, you should be able to be all wired up now, and if you have your compressors and tank and manifold mounted, you should be able to turn it on. It should be working. Like I said, I'm just taking my time. I want to do it once. I don't want to have to do it multiple times, so I'm making sure that everything's tucked away nicely, everything's in an orderly fashion, and then I don't have to take anything apart and redo it. I just get to enjoy the Airlift system. So I appreciate you guys following along. I appreciate you guys watching through the entire videos. Comment down below what you guys want to see next. Do you want to see mounting the manifold and the tank and the compressors, or should we do the height sensors next? I want you guys to drop a comment below. I'm good to do either or, and I have a really nice and clean setup I think that we're gonna do for the trunk. So hope you guys enjoyed today's vlog. Hopefully it was helpful. If you have any more questions or concerns or anything else you want to know, drop a comment below. Hit me up on Instagram at HQ_BMW. And once again, a massive thank you to F30_M3 Daniel. Your second wiring harness was amazing. The quality is fantastic, so thank you so much again. Have a fantastic day. Please like, comment, subscribe. Peace.